Good morning, Devils fans. It is July 15th, and development camp has finally come to an end. For today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the red versus white scrimmage and some of my notes from that, my overall thoughts from the development camp as a whole, and then I'm going to touch on the Chris Tierney signing towards the end of the video. So, with the red versus white scrimmage, there was one player to me that clearly stood out, even though he did not end up on the score sheet, and that would be Seamus Casey. To start with his defensive acumen, although he calls himself an offensive defenseman, I thought he was very poised with the puck. He showed tons of patience, even when he was hounded behind the net or pressured in transition play through the neutral zone. He always seemed to make the smart play. When he did not have a great passing option with a teammate, he always seemed to put the puck into good ice. Not looking to just dump it in and lose possession, but at least trying to increase the odds that his team kept possession of the puck and always looking to move it up into the offensive zone and create one of those scoring chances for us. Now, like I said, he calls himself an offensive defenseman, but he still reads the play fantastically with his gap control and his stick placement, as right at the very start of play on his first shift, the other team actually was coming through the neutral zone and had almost a 2-on-1 breakaway, if not for Casey's stick breaking up a pass. Again, just very smart positioning, not just with his body, but with his stick. On the offensive end, which we know is a bit more of his bread and butter, he absolutely danced his way into the zone. It seemed like every time he touched the puck, there was a good play, whether he was making it himself, putting the puck in the right spot, or putting it right on the tape of one of his teammates to set up an offensive chance. With all the plays I did see him make, I'm very surprised he did not end up on the score sheet, but that's hockey. That's sometimes just how it goes. But again, wasn't on the score sheet, but I still think he was clearly, as far as skill level and promise goes, was the best player on the ice, which should not really be surprised, as he is considered probably the top prospect here. I'm going to get into the other guy who is considered one of probably our top prospect at the tournament, but there was a couple guys, since I started off with the best, that I did not have the best of notes for. First was going to be Isaac Poulter, the goalie in the first period of play. He seemed to have some trouble tracking the puck, and the third goal that went in right before the buzzer was him just completely losing it through traffic. Now, obviously, traffic's going to happen, but this did not seem like one of those plays where he had any clue where to position himself when he lost it. So it ended up being a goal he definitely would have wanted back. Now, that's not to say his play across the board was awful by any means. He definitely showed a bit of promise. But I'd say just from an initial viewing of one period of a scrimmage, my notes on him was just the puck tracking left a little bit to be desired. The other name that I had in my notes that wasn't glowing was unfortunately Tobias Villain. For someone that was talked up a bunch through the first half of development camp and then seemed to kind of just disappear from the media after the 3-on-3 scrimmage, he didn't impress me on this either. My biggest takeaway from watching him on multiple shifts was he seemed to rush the play when pressured with the puck. Now, this isn't the most difficult thing to fix, as when he was not pressured, he seemed to be a lot more confident in his play, but obviously when you're at the NHL, that pressure is going to come quicker and harder than anything he's experienced yet. So that is something he is going to have to continuously work on. Thankfully, these guys are all still really young, under team control for quite a while, and they have a long runway to work on these things. So again, that, as far as a skill to develop, I would say that is something I'm optimistic he can work on, but he's going to need to work on it, as to play at the NHL level, if that is a problem, he will not find himself sticking there very long. But it was really just those two guys that I had noticed less than stellar play from. There's going to be plenty of names that don't get mentioned at all in this video. So for those guys, it was either possibly a good thing, if like you're a defenseman, not being noticed can be a good thing. But obviously you want to stick out at this type of camp. So if you don't hear their name being said, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but they just did not stick out to me, either because they didn't make the great play, or, to be honest, with these prospects, I don't just eye test, recognize their skating style or their body frame or even just their numbers right off the top of my head. So there was some guys that I definitely noticed making some strong, good plays, and some not so strong plays, but I just didn't recognize who they were right from the jump. They weren't talked about on the cast as well, so I just did not make any note of them because I didn't want to have the wrong player that I was calling out for something good or for something bad. But now on to some of the guys that I did have some great notes on. First, that would be Josh Philman. So this was another name that was talked up a bunch during the camp and seemed to kind of trail off on the 3-on-3. And from talking to other people, he did not have the best 3-on-3 showing, but I thought he actually had a pretty strong scrimmage. He had good play covering the point when his D-man pinched, just showing his ability to recognize the flow of a play, cover his defensemen when they are going for that pinch play. And he just overall seemed to have a impact on the ice, but nothing stellar. I wasn't blown away by his play, but just he was noticeable enough. He had strong play, 200-foot play across the board, but just, nothing super flashy that extra stuck out. A flashy play that did make my notes for sure was Xavier Perron's wicked shot. That thing flings off of his stick, and you can tell that if he can fix up some other parts of his game, unfortunately size not being the easiest one, but with the shot like that, he maybe could find his place onto an NHL lineup. But I think from what I saw, he was talked up quite a bit from the scrimmage and definitely from the 3-on-3. But I think a underlying part of that was Lenny Haminaho actually setting him up for a lot of these type of plays that really made him look even better. And I think that really speaks to Haminaho's skill set and ability to make his teammates look better. If I had any knock for him on this, it's what a lot of others have said. He could definitely improve his skating. Now, that's not necessarily just a speed thing, but just edge control and the like. At the NHL level, if he's going to get twisted and turned around at his current pace and skill set, so he definitely needs to work on that, because he put himself into some trouble and found himself on the ice at points because of his skating. But that being said, the guy can set up plays. He set up Perron for chance after chance after chance, and he himself has a pretty nice shot as well. So again, if he can fix that skating, I think we definitely found something here in the second round. For another one of the big names that has been on our minds in these prospect tournaments, a guy that stuck out in a positive way, was Samu Sulaiman. I think he had a great scrimmage. He was all over the ice, was rewarded with a goal, always found himself in scoring situations, and I think as far as just an overall offensive acumen, he stood out quite a bit to me. Again, it wasn't so much other guys setting him up, but he being the driving force for his play, and that's really something you want to see at this level, is a guy that drives himself. So that was fantastic. For the goalies, I think there was a clear standout in Jacob Malik. He only played the one period, and he looks huge in the net. And I think he did a fantastic job covering the bottom portion of the net, because he was getting absolutely hemmed and blasted with pucks for that entire period. Now, he did get beat up high off a deflection. I believe it was off of his own defenseman. But that did seem to be a recurring theme through the 3-on-3 in this scrimmage. That up high is his area of opportunity, but down low, he kept it on lock. So fantastic play from him. I definitely look forward to watching to see how he develops. I don't know if the team skipping out on a goalie this last draft is because they have a lot of hope for this guy and he's still really young, but if that's the case, I can definitely see why. I had a few other guys that I just had a couple of small notes on that I definitely want to make mention. Jaromir Pitlick had a fantastic setup that was completely thanks to his skating and a great pass from a dot to the opposite side of the net, just for an easy tap-in goal. He completely created the play on his own, got around the defenseman thanks to his skating, and then a nice saucer pass across right on the tape. And I definitely need to call that play out, as it was a great set of skill from Pitlick to pull that one off. Chase Cheslock as well impressed me. I thought he had some really good play behind the net defensively. He himself said he's not the most skilled guy. He is out there to get the puck to the skilled guys in transition. And I think he did a great job showing that off. But I think he's maybe selling himself short a little bit, as he actually had a blue line dance play with some sneaky good stick handling where he actually held and danced the puck against 3 guys on top of him and got it to a teammate. So don't sell yourself short there too much, Chase. I think you did actually a really good job in the skill stick handling department. So, maybe with a little bit more confidence in that area, not thinking, hey, I just have to pass the puck in transition. Maybe there's something there down the road. Cam Squires always seemed to be in the right spot. He had a great little one-timer. Again, just having that awareness to find himself on the ice. I don't know if he's going to be able to drive the play too much on his own, but if you're finding those little pockets, this would be an absolute insane reach. But, for me, that's one of my biggest points for Jason Robertson. I think he finds the best parts of the ice a lot, always finds himself in the right position because he's not the greatest skater per se, but if you're always in the right spot and you're not over skating yourself, that's really all that matters is you're in that right spot of the ice. So I don't think Cam Squires has that sort of ceiling by any means, but there is a spot on lineups for guys that just find themselves in the right spot at the right time. And really the last guy that made my notes list was Artemi Schleine. He just had a lot of small plays, just knocking guys off of pucks, dumping it into smart areas. He didn't have any absolute wow factor play that I saw or at least noticed, but it was just all those small little things in the play, whether it was on or off the puck, that really stuck out to me. So for the development camp as a whole, I really enjoyed it. Again, I think it was great seeing how many people made it out for the 2 fan experience games because there was no marquee name. Casey was probably the biggest name there, and we still showed out like crazy. And if I had to take anything away from the prospects themselves, it's that, again, while there was no marquee guy here, if you assume that we're not going to have a single blue chip if, let's say, Holtz and Nemec do graduate to the NHL this season, we still have a deep prospect pool to draw from, whether it's going to be some ELC in depth position as outside of maybe Casey. I don't know if anybody else is going to make the top forward or defensive part of our lineup out of this grouping. It's definitely possible that some of these guys continue to develop. There is a skill set for each of them there. That is a top 6 or top 4 skill set that's just missing some development in other areas. So that's really good to see. It wasn't just a bunch of scrubs and bums out there, but really guys that could push themselves into the bottom of an NHL lineup or be those trade pieces that get us the top type of guy like we did in the Timo trade with guys like Zetterlund and Muka Medulin to a bit, but I think Muka Medulin is actually going to be really, really good. So I can't wait to see how he continues to advance in his career over in San Jose now. So that really covers it on development camp for this year. Now it's probably going to be a little bit of a while till we start getting some more Devils news unless a big trade comes through. But speaking of, we did have another move yesterday that came through. We signed Chris Tierney to a 2-way 1-year deal. I think he's likely to be a Utica guy, but I see the argument that he's going to make his way up. The reason I think he's going to be in Utica is arguably there's only 2, maybe 3 natural centers down there. So, you need at least 4, right? Or a guy to play from wing to center like Graham Clark has done from time to time. But that's why I think he's going to be down there. I've seen people say he's an insurance policy for possibly a McLeod decision that's going to come. Definitely could be the case, but I saw the cited reason for that is his face-off acumen. Now, I went into the numbers a little bit. I don't see how that's really the case. He's not Jack in the face-off circle, but he's nowhere near Mikey either. His career face-off percentage is 48.8%. Now, if you narrow that down to only the last 5 seasons, it's a bit better at 49.6. Or if you want, you can do the last 3 seasons, and it's only 47.5. So that being, that's a career, no matter how you try and find a nice set of data, it's under 50%. He had 4 seasons in a row that he was over 50. That was from 2017 through 2020. He kept over 50% with his best year being 51.2. But with the past 3 seasons, it's all been under 50, with his lowest actually being 45.6 the 3 seasons ago. So I'm not sure if that's really the case, that they're planning on bringing him in as a face-off guy, but he's a depth piece. He's not going to be anything fantastic. He's a 4th-line guy. So he's there. Like I said, probably at best an insurance policy. I would say even Lazar probably gets that center spot over him. But we'll see how this continues to play out over the off season here, and obviously I will continue to give you my thoughts on it. So let me know what you guys thought as development camp as a whole, signing of Tierney, and what you think might be coming down the road here in the near future. If you hadn't noticed, I did get a ring light set up, so hopefully that was helping a bit with the viewing. I was messing with the settings a bunch, trying to find the right one. So if you have any tips on how I can improve that, just let me know in the comments. And that's going to do it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to see you tomorrow morning, and let's go Devils.